Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gods and goddesses, to the Golden Age Gurus podcast, your source for regenerative, entrepreneurial, and eco-friendly global solutions using ancient future strategies that focus on healing ourselves, our community, and the planet. Now, it is truly an honor to introduce your host, Baba John.
Good morning, Golden Agers. This is Baba John. Today I'm bringing Sasha Hodder to your listening pleasure. And she is a lawyer who is focused on the Bitcoin and financial technology sector. She helps her clients navigate evolving regulations around state and federal money transmission, security laws, privacy laws, and all other regulations that apply to Bitcoin and other digital assets. So she's helped me in the past with the SAVE Dao project, and which is basically a Bitcoin LLC. So I'm going from legacy LLC to a Bitcoin LLC. They call them BB LLCs essentially. And so in order to get my community up to par and participating in this DAO, which is pretty exciting, I'm chatting with her about the current situation and bringing to you guys some understanding of what we're dealing with as far as innovators making the golden age happen. It probably will have something to do with Web3 and the tokenization of businesses and decentralization of networks. So without further ado, I bring to you Sasha Hodder of hoddercast.com. This show is brought to you on Patreon, where creators are supported by their tribe. For the cost of a latte, you can support the show and my advocacy around fringe legal topics ranging from zero waste in Bitcoin to matters of spirit. I'm committed to serving mankind by providing thousands of years of ancestral wisdom. Learn from my gurus, join my network, and get exclusive content. We have a free tier so you don't have to worry about money, a support tier for just a few bucks, and an apprentice level for aspiring Jedi interested in my mystery school and nature-based ministry. We have a VIP business tier for CEOs who want their own wizard. Just remember, King Arthur had a Merlin and Queen Elizabeth had her John Dee. Historically, I've charged way more as a consultant, but while I wrap my last year of law school, I'm willing to help just to get this new platform going. You'll have access to me with the Voxer app and get access to the Advocacy Launchpad and Discord. Sponsorship is sold separate. If you're interested, message and visit patreon.com, patreon.com/Golden Age Gurus. Follow for free and support if you can.
You might have been, for whatever reason, a little bit early, but now it's like crypto has gotten more, I guess, mainstream, and so has the zero waste, discussion.
Yeah. I mean, I went through the traditional route in America, with the incubators and stuff, and that's what they said at the end of the day. They were like, "You're early."
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of ticked me off because they said I was, onto something. They gave us a valuation letter, said, "Hey, this project's worth $200,000 and we're going to give you money and help you." And then they went, "Oh, never mind, you're early, get out." So I kind of had an energy back then. We also did South by Southwest that year, and there were 3 crypto projects on the stage for a pitch.
and none of them even got, an eyebrow raise, and the project that won was a smart catheter.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And I was just like, it's South by Southwest, it's supposed to be hip and cool, and they're ignoring all the crypto and voted for the smart catheter. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, time to hang my hat for a little bit and ponder this one, dude.
Yeah. How did the smart
it,
catheter do since then, I wonder?
Do what?
I wonder how that smart catheter has done since then.
I don't know, but what I really learned from that crowd was that, those kinds of people, kind of investors, they really like doctors on the team, I guess. They like drop their pants for that, for that situation. So anyways,
back like a couple years ago, I was working with a team of doctors, and they had a really good idea for radiologists, and they got told the same thing: too early. And
too early.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like you gotta know someone. I don't know. It's hard to raise money.
Yeah. Well, we're in the time of the magic internet money. We shouldn't really. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's actually possible. Mm-hmm. What we need is some of the established powers that be to be a little more open to innovation.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So on that note, at the end of the December, the month of December 2021, I was able to create a DAO in Colony. So I was kind of confused during all this COVID stuff, and haven't really been trying to do anything with the crypto project, mostly because it felt like I just needed to kind of look at the landscape and see it evolve a little bit legally and tech wise, and it just kind of happened in December that I was able to plug that ERC20 token save into the Colony and unlock it for the Gnosis chain they're using for that.
Oh, very cool.
And then I came out here to Guatemala, and the head seeds guy was renting my house. So it's just, that's how I kind of feel like things should be, just flowing, and happening on their own merit and energy, and like let God do it, Mm-hmm. But so that's kind of what it feels like right now is there's some momentum, there's some progress, there's some innovation, there's all kinds of new funding mechanisms. Hell, I was just reading this morning about DAO to DAO stable coins. And I really wanted to just reconnect with you. So I'll just go ahead and say we've started.
Okay.
Yeah. And so just to give everyone a little background, Sasha helped us with some legal back when we were working on this project, and we just kind of got stuck because we filed a couple times with the Texas government to create a entity for the crypto project, but they just turned it down. They turned it down like 2 or 3 times, and so coupled that and the COVID and all this stuff, I was just like, okay, I don't see an opening here right this second. But right now I see an opening. Right now I see that it's probably very doable. Mm-hmm. And thought you might have some interesting things to say about, the crypto market, being that you are an expert crypto lawyer extraordinaire. And so if you want to just like give a little bit of background on yourself.
Sure. Yeah,
And
well, thanks so much for having me on, and it's really nice to reconnect with you after it has been a couple years, I guess, since we were working on that SAVE project. Um, yeah, I guess I got into crypto back in 2014. I had started hearing about it earlier than that, but I was living in Canada, and when I moved to the US to go to law school, I was hoping that I could use Bitcoin as a way to transfer money back and forth between Canada and the US, like my Canadian bank account. And it didn't work that easily. I thought I heard actually all these talks about, oh, it's great for cross-border payments and whatnot, but I didn't understand yet that it didn't really connect to the banking system. It was, great for it. It is great for cross-border payments, but if you need to cash out, it's still pretty challenging. But I just started going to a couple meetups in Florida, and I went on Upwork and got a job as a compliance officer for a Bitcoin ATM manufacturer and operator, and kind of learned the whole landscape at that time. The big question was, what is this thing? And when we're selling it at the Bitcoin ATMs, was it the same regulatory structure as selling a bag of chips? Or, as we discovered, it was quite a bit more than that. We had to go through all the state by state, analysis of the money transmitter rules and the FinCEN registrations. And we hired an attorney from big firm, and they paid them. The company paid $1,800 an hour, and I realized, I'm like, okay, this might be a good industry for my future law career. I don't nearly charge that much an hour, but it's been fun to watch it kind of unfold, all the different things, through the ICO bubble and all the money that was generated there. And then now, looking at what's going on with the NFTs and the Web3, and seeing what's, just watching as the industry kind of develops and matures, and all the new entrants coming in. So it has been a really exciting journey. But the core laws are still pretty much the same. It's just watching how people navigate, like ways to not have to be as encumbered by them, which really at the core of that conversation is decentralization, which is something I think is very important.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so excited about what I see going on. I finally capitulated, and last night I got on YouTube and started cramming on some Python coding videos and
oh wow
and things. I've learned code. I learned ActionScript when Flash was hot, and then Flash went out of style. So I went through the process of learning a code and then having it not apply to anything. So I've been like really cautious to pick up a new script, but Python looks like it might be the one. But disclaimer, I'm not a coder, I am a designer. So, but sometimes you to get things done, you gotta do it yourself.
Isn't that the truth?
Yep. So
yeah, I went on the other day. I was there trying to figure out how to make wearables, which is nothing to do with any law or anything. I just went to a party in the metaverse on New Year's, and I didn't have a nice outfit, and there wasn't a huge selection that I could find for crypto voxels wearables. There are quite a few things, but I just thought, I wonder if I could make something, but nice. I didn't end up following through on that. It was a couple hours of video watching, and then I just figured I'll let the real designers go to work. And in a year or so, there'll probably be a huge selection.
What metaverse is this?
Is that my husband has one actually for DJ Pepe. It's in Crypto Voxels.
Crypto Voxel.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll have to shoot me a link over.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. one of his friends' wives ended up building it, and it's really gorgeous the way it looks. Like there's all
Nice.
all the art displayed and everything like that. And yeah, I haven't gone in and explored a lot of the other ones. I wish I had have been a little earlier on those, but the what's the big one? Decentraland. It looks like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, Sandbox also is hot. I'm a little nervous about it. Like I could get excited about. I mean, I played video games when I was a kid. I was, original Nintendo generation.
Nice.
But it kind of scares me on some levels. So I definitely haven't done anything, even though I know it's an opportunity. I also kind of feel like it's a soul trap on some levels. But
Yeah,
that's a whole nother.
it's kind of like Ready Player One world that we're actively trying to move into, which is weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sitting here at Lake Atitlan, the belly button chakra of Mother Earth, looking at this giant super volcano crater lake, and it'd be pretty dumb to put on a VR headset right now. I can barely deal with the computer.
Yeah.
So did you just have a baby?
He's a year old now, so yeah, it's a little guy, Cameron.
Nice.
He just started walking, so that's been exciting.
Congrats.
And you have, oh, thank you. You have a couple kids, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Right.
I have 4.
4. Wow. That must
Yeah.
keep you busy.
I'm building my own tribe.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. How old are they?
I have a 5-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and 13-year-old.
Oh, nice. I have a 12-year-old stepson. So yeah, is very into skateboarding, which I like, because for a while he was just into Fortnite. And I remember right at the beginning of the pandemic, I got him a skateboard, and I wasn't sure if he'd use it that much, because like it would be always a struggle to get him to come out and like play, baseball or anything. And for some reason, he really took to the skateboard. And when we moved, we were living in DC when it all, when everything started, the COVID and whatnot. And we moved down to Jacksonville, Florida. And then he didn't have a ton of friends here, and he was still doing the online school, like with his class in DC. But he would go to the skate park by himself and just, play around on it. And then it's become like his favorite thing. So it's nice to see.
Beautiful. So are you planning on getting back into the podcast game? I know you were
thinking
breaking
about
up
it.
episodes, right?
Yeah, I just restarted my firm, and on your advice, any listeners, a 15% discount if you mention this podcast. But yeah, so I think the podcast, I used to do the Hoddercast. It was really good for just having conversations with experts in various areas of practice, like of the crypto world. So I think it helped my knowledge a lot. And over the last year and a half, I haven't really been doing it. And I feel like I'm not as sharp with everything as I was when I was doing the weekly podcast, for sure. So yeah, I'm going to start it back up. Just got to find time for everything. That's the challenge.
Yeah, I highly recommend to listeners the John McAfee episode, which probably died right after.
Yeah, I might have been one of the I'm sure he did other interviews, but it was very close to when it was like a week before he got arrested. And then I hope he's not dead. I hope he's out on a boat somewhere, but we will never know, I guess.
Yeah, that guy.
So, most people believe he is dead, but I'm holding out.
He's so funny.
He was. Here he is. Yeah. Whatever. He's a real interesting person. Mm-hmm.
So what can you what kind of legal intel do you have for us? I know you said you're not as sharp because you've been
Well,
working
I was
for
working in-house the last year at
yeah.
Exodus Wallet. So I actually learned a ton it was like drinking from a fire hose, really, in the securities law side of things. Exodus did a big fundraising where I think it was the first ever tokenized, well, lots of companies did tokenized fundraising, but Exodus did it in a way that, they got the stock is listed on T0 and you can hold it in a self-custody fashion through the Exodus wallet. So it was a really, really interesting and unique offering that, it sold out in a pretty quick time frame. They raised 75 million in about a month, and then got it listed on T0, which is, a platform that sells, security tokens, which that whole industry hasn't taken off fully yet. And even the volume on T0 is pretty light, but it's a path that I think will probably be a big part of the future for a lot of crypto companies, especially with that infrastructure bill that came out. In another year, they're wanting everyone to consider themselves brokers. So it was I learned a lot about securities and how to, even just how to operate as a public company. There's so many different rules that you have to follow to make sure you're following every part of the SEC's guidelines, and then doing stock offerings for the staff, like the insider trading policies and getting everyone stock options or RSUs. And so it was pretty cool being there. But yeah, now that I'm back, in private practice, it seems like there's a lot of activity going on in the Bitcoin ATM world, or that's at least like an area that I seem to know. Or one of the banks in Miami are referring people to me to get these independent reviews, and looking at a lot more companies have gone the road of actually getting their money transmitter licenses. And then once you have that, you can really operate. It does open a wide door of what companies can do. Before it was looking like everyone wanted to not have their money transmitter license because it's a big pain in the derriere to jump through all these hoops, get all these surety bonds put in place, and then you have to send each state your transactions every quarter, and it's and you have to pay quite a bit to apply for the licenses. But once you have it, you can operate as an OTC desk, or basically like a custodial exchange. So it's
What does OTC stand for?
Over the counter.
Over the counter.
It's just like an online trading platform, but it allows you're allowed to do it legally, where you take someone's Bitcoin and sell them, a bank transfer or wire, or vice versa. So it allows, banking for people, for companies, which is often hard to get.
And Exodus is pretty cool. I mean, I have some crypto in there, and I've used it for years. So
they're growing really fast too, and like really moving into the DeFi space, and trying to work, like they just got a new NFT platform, and the CEO is I think he's quite a visionary with what he wants to do. He wants to help half the world exit the traditional financial system by 2030. So it's
wow.
It's a big goal, but if anyone can do it, hopefully he can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that's the side, a public company and bigger with maybe resources to go through all that. But what about startups? And because a lot of, there's going to be a lot of startups happening, with all this stuff, and there are startups happening. And like I said, I put SAVE through the local Dallas incubator infrastructure for new technologies, and they were kind of afraid of crypto. and went for the smart catheter again and again. so it was just really weird for me, like to be in this space that's supposed to be looking for innovation in tech, you know, and it's so obviously in this space, but you know, you still had the status quo preventing a lot of openness to the newness of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I probably make a song out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it'll come to you tonight while you're doing your
it'll come to me.
Yeah. I think there's one thing I found really interesting to watch over the last year was the NFT space. And my husband actually has been a crypto artist for a while. Like, he used to have a podcast, Art on the Blockchain, and then he was making these rare Pepes on the Counterparty protocol back in 2016, and they were kind of slept on, other than in their little community, you know, of about 300 people that were Counterparty supporters. And then the Ethereum, like the super rare platform, came out, and they just they're just a marketing machine. Like the whole Ethereum, like I went to I think it was called Ethereal in 2018, this conference, and it was just, you know, all the Ethereum art started to take off. And I think that's for any artists or creatives, there's still a really big opportunity to get your art out there and make money off it, which is a use case that, I mean, lots of people still do call it a, you know, cash grab or a scam, but it's really like you get something for what you're buying for. I mean, some of these, like those apes or whatever, the Bored Ape Yacht Club and that kind of stuff, the prices were insane. So I don't understand, you know, what constitutes $1 million NFT versus $100 NFT. Like, it's very subjective, but it is a way that I think there's a bit of regulatory protection for it, because so in the US, we have three main regulators to watch out for. There's the SEC, which, you know, as we've seen with the new administration come in over the last year, they've been very aggressive, and, you know, going back to the whole narrative that everything's a security. I don't think they've issued any no action letters since taking over, and really haven't given any guidance as to how people can proceed. But their jurisdiction does not cover art that's traditional art. And you know, the argument is that all these NFTs are to be looked at in the same way, like they're actually a good or a service. So it's the same as buying a real, you know, physical piece of art. You're just buying it in a digital format, but it comes with the same regulatory scrutiny that selling a normal piece of art would have, which isn't much. You don't have to go through SEC registration to sell your, you know, art that, you know, that, and that's, I think, a pretty, you know, big deal for the crypto world, because now there's this way to do art where you don't have to try and make these arguments about the utility so much, because it's obvious the art is the utility, and the token is the art. And then from the FinCEN side, like, they've come out, you know, and said basically any type of cryptocurrency that's being exchanged requires a FinCEN registration at the federal level, which, you know, that it requires a lot of, I mean, it's not that difficult to get, but then you have to KYC everyone to comply with it. Like, you have to file suspicious activity reports or currency transaction reports on the customers. And you know, people just, that's not the ethos of crypto. People don't want to be, you know, having to do that with everyone, and it costs the company trying to comply with that quite a bit in their compliance, you know, set up and to make that work. Whereas they have also an exemption. So there's 2 times you have to register with FinCEN. It's if you're exchanging or if you're creating a coin and administering it. But if it's art, again, it's like considered an exemption because it's a good or a service. So from that side, it's not required to follow all the BSA BS. I shouldn't say that, call it that too much, but there is whatever. It's hard for companies getting started to try and navigate all that. So I think that's created a lot of excitement for people, and it's been just a good way for people to get introduced into crypto, and people all over the world can easily get on and get into the communities and sell their art, and people are making some meaningful money for their families that they wouldn't have the opportunity to make otherwise.
Well, I was taking like a little class on the Constitution, and the guy basically pointed out that if the law's unjust, you don't have to follow the rules.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it, but it's a little bit of a scary way, or it's hard to get investors or to get a bank account if you're not following the rules. So it's sure you can do it and you can take the risk, but it's difficult to scale your company if you're sitting outside the regulatory regime.
Well, that's a good argument for following the rules. So like I also have come to find that a lot of the stuff for calling law is actually code, and privy to the Uniform Commercial Code book.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Like, I mean, because it seems to be like code wars, just basically, and sometimes calling it law is not even accurate, but it's the words that we choose to use to describe these rules a lot of times is law when it's actually commercial code, right? Am I right? Or
Well, yeah, I think you're right.
Have you ever heard of the book The Richest Man in Babylon? If not, you can check it out in the bookstore. But it's a classic business book that reveals the key to personal wealth. And it's basically saving 10% every month. So the way I like to save is in gold and silver with Mint Builder. I've been using Mint Builder for years. I've created a system where my savings plan pays for itself by signing up people who want to save and start a silver bank account, which ships physical coin out every month based on their budget. The author of The Richest Man in Babylon says that magic number is 10% of your income. Now you can build your legacy with the best pricing on metal assets while helping the nonprofit Feed My Starving Children, which uses 90% of donations for food to stop malnutrition in over 100 countries around the world. Thank you for considering Mint Builder to build your wealth and feed hungry children. You can go to preciousmetaltrends.com/102026. Complete the form and claim your free silver bullion bar just for taking our short tour and brief survey.
So the way I understand the UCC's role in all this, or the Uniform Commercial Code, is that each state has their own code of how they handle goods and services. So for tokens, for Wyoming, for example, they've actually enacted some legislation that brings tokens that are created or sold in Wyoming or stored in Wyoming under the rules of the Uniform Commercial Code as they have it written in their state, which is a lot more protective than if it's, or it gives some protection compared to the federal securities laws, which would say, you have to register your token as a security, or maybe you have to, it's, very up in the air as to when you have to or when you don't. I mean, the SEC would say it's not up in the air, but in practice, people are always trying to say that it's not, their token isn't a security because it has such and such utility. But in Wyoming, if you just register it as a utility token, then it's de facto under the UCC protection. And that gives, that makes it outside of the federal jurisdiction, because under the UCC, each state has control of how they handle the goods and services in their state. And so it's kind of like a conflict of law where you have the federal law and the state law. But and this happened actually in energy in the 90s. Like there was a federal rules for like electricity, and then they came up with these 5 elements of when something would be under the Uniform Commercial Code, and each state kind of state by state adopted this. But it's like, if it's movable, if it's traceable, if it has a start point and end point. I forget the last 2, but it was very akin to what the blockchain looks like. So I think we can really piggyback, and we haven't, the more needs to be researched on this topic, but I think as an industry, we could probably piggyback on that and say that the blockchain is the exact same as electricity on the grid, and it moves from, one wallet to another wallet. It's traceable. I think that the original idea was that if it's a tangible good, it goes under the UCC. And then they had to make all these, elements to make electricity into a tangible good, because each power company didn't want to deal with the federal regulator for it.
Yeah.
So, we can say the same thing about how the tokens move on the blockchain should make it exactly the same as how the electricity moves on the grid, how that was. And now I believe most states have electricity under their the UCC rules. Yeah.
Wow.
But,
So would you say, so here I am, I just fired up the DAO on colony.io, and I'm going to go pitch for this grant from Seeds on Wednesday. Like, if I get this, if there's some interest and I get the ball going again, which I probably will, do you think Wyoming DAO is a good move? I mean, it sounds like you do based on what you just said. Or should I just like chill and wait for Texas to do it, or find a jurisdiction, in Latin America where,
I would
El
do
Salvador
Latin America.
Huh?
I would stick with Latin America.
Stick with Latin America.
I mean,
all right.
The idea of a DAO is, in my understanding anyway, which, I think I have more to learn on it, but it shouldn't need to be registered anywhere, because it's decentralized, and you want to have members of it in all over the place, so that no one, it's like a jurisdictional arbitrage, but no one can say it's linked to any specific jurisdiction, or even like an organization behind it. And then what rules apply is a very difficult question if it's controlled by as big a group of people as you can get, that live in as many different places as you can find. The Wyoming DAO is interesting, but it still requires you to have an LLC, and then you still have to name each member of the DAO as part of it. So to me, I don't see a big difference or distinction between a regular LLC and their DAO LLC. The difference is, the idea behind creating that Wyoming DAO is that in a normal DAO, if it did come under US jurisdiction and, was charged with something, the every person would be a general partner in it. Like if someone creates a company and just never registers the company anywhere, then that's a de facto general partnership, and there's no limited liability protection. So if a lawsuit was to land, then every member of it would be equally liable for, when maybe it's just one person did something like they stole money out of it. Well, the good actors out of that aren't going to have limited liability protection against even against their personal assets. But like we said, if a DAO is properly set up and properly diversified, or decentralized, it's not going to be able to land a lawsuit that easily on it.
What state are you in again?
I'm in Florida.
You're in Florida. Okay, that's where you were.
Yeah, I moved around a few times since we talked. I was in, I think, Jacksonville, then Tampa, then Washington, D.C., and then I came back to Jacksonville.
All right. So if you join my DAO, the DAO will be in Florida's jurisdiction, protected by you. So beautiful. No, it's really, it makes me excited to hear you go into that, because I think you're right, and that's why that's the chosen structure. And I've been thinking, I don't think we need like a legacy filing anywhere, at least for now. Do you are you up on the DeFi IDO stuff?
A little bit. Wait, what? I'm up on DeFi a bit, but I don't know about what's an IDO? I feel dumb asking, but I'm Googling it right now. Maybe you could just explain it.
It's an initial decentralized offering.
Okay, I'm not up on it at the moment.
Okay. Well, this seems to be the route, that is available for funding these startup projects.
Okay, yeah,
because it's decentralized,
Yeah.
and so now you don't need all the code that prevents the focus on the innovation,
Mm-hmm.
like this when I went the startup, when I experimented in America with this, it just seems that the system wants you to put money into the innovation is getting around the rules, not the actual product, like the innovation is figuring out how to do something
How to
new
do it.
without going to jail, so it's like the resources and the energy is going into that instead of what's best for the startup.
Well, but there something with these DEXs, to their credit, majorly to their credit, is the non-custodial aspect of it. So, they figured out a way around a lot of the regulation in the US is to not take custody of the coins. That's what the US is trying to protect, is that, one person gets custody of the asset and then, steals it.
Right.
Well, with these DEXs, and that is a real concern that, it can happen, as we've seen, a lot of times in the crypto, ecosystem. But when it's decentralized and you always hold your own tokens or coins or, assets, it really takes that risk out. And so I love DEXs for that reason.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah. So basically they have like an IDO smart contract and plug it in, and tokens managed by smart contract instead of me, would be the strategy there, right? Like, to not have those in my, like, I need to give it to the DAO and let the DAO pay the people and for things and whatever. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I would love to hear your thoughts after you get a little deeper with it. Yeah. you hadn't heard that phrase yet?
I heard it, but I haven't Yeah, I need to learn more. Like I said, I've spent the last year just, very focused on one company's, needs. And now I've only been a week into the, back to private practice. And it's like a lot's happened in the past year to relearn or catch up.
So what do you see your core offerings being that this is, like what do you want to form this practice around doing? Or
I
what
think
do
it
you
is probably going to be around. I think what the industry is moving towards is these DAOs and DEXs and things like that. I want to focus mostly on, on basically decentralized projects, Bitcoin related stuff too. And then I already still have quite a base of people I know in the Bitcoin ATM business, so that'll probably be, my bread and butter again. Is just working with them a lot, but. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I was just looking through the token disclaimers that you gave us back in the day, and I was like, oh, I need to remember to might need to update them or something.
Yeah, we'll probably need to update those.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm really excited about the possibilities with this DeFi stuff. It took me a long time to comprehend,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still learning. There's they're creating the liquidity of the tokens by making pools where they match it up with like a stable coin, like DAI, which is what I use to make the SAVE Dao. By the way, it's you need DAI to start the process, but a stable coin is matched to a stable asset.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like USDT is another one, and so they're making these new tokens liquid by making these pools.
So what? And then the pool, is it on Uniswap or like Binance Dex?
Yeah, like all of the dexes have, like, they're calling them launch pads, and the ability to create pools and stuff. And so really these decentralized exchanges are turning into the incubator type
Mm-hmm.
model. So
And then so what? You put it on there, you put it in a pool, and then people can like, do you distribute the token where it stays on the X and people can like stake off it, or like they stake it and lend against it, or?
the staking stuff is I still got more learning to do about that as far as the different options. But I know what I'm thinking with our project is basically a profit share token and type strategy, at least to start. And we might need to make another token. And the longer people stake their coins, the more vote they have, the more the weight of their vote. So it like incentivizes, the staking is incentivized, because otherwise people could do pump and dumps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The
you go to the
profit share,
pool.
it's so funny when you say that. It's like that's the ideal thing, you want to be able to profit share with all the participants, but that's where it gets into like that's an immediate SEC flag, because they'll say, oh, you're sharing your profit. That's a security. Like everyone's expecting profit based on your work. So that's where you got to make sure there's like a real core decentralized way that profit is getting generated.
Yeah, duly noted. But yeah, you would go to a pool and you would give them like a stable coin like DAI or USDT, and you would get the token that way. And so these new DeFi like startup token projects are kind of hot, but 75% of them are known as degen.
Yeah.
And 25% have a utility, and those are regen. So I, obviously, being the permaculture daddy and sustainability warlock that I am, I would love to shoot for regenerative rather than just a degen pump and dump coordinated wealth thing. So, but that seems to be the frontier. And I'm looking at this platform called Balancer, which has a bootstrapping liquidity pool, which protects new tokens from that type of crap, to give them more time to grow and stuff before people are trying to dump it and, pump it up. Yeah. So
how does it generate the yield?
I couldn't answer that right now at this. I mean, I was just looking at this last night, so it's fresh info for me as far as the
I think you don't
liquidity.
have to have a yield. I think it's, well, I probably shouldn't be talking about this on a podcast until I know more about it, but I think you can do a lot of different things with it. Like, in one avenue is to get the yield generators, but it's not the only thing you can do.
Well, what do you mean by yield generator?
So some of the tokens, like, people, I think when they stake it, like they get a yield. Like, you say you and I were, counterparties on this thing, and your token was there, and I would basically like buy it and then you would lend it out, or you'd use my money that I put in the liquidity pool to lend against. And then I would get some kind of yield based on how you did with your trading. Like, you take a bunch of people's money in, and then you trade on it. You make money off your trading activity, and you pay out a yield to the people that gave you the money.
Okay. A lot of these exchanges seem to be offering another kind of token, like a yield token.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have some jargon I'm not using, but they definitely, they're paying that in another token I've seen.
Okay, so they give you a different token back, I see.
Yeah. Yep.
God, it's like they've taken the stock market or the bond market and just like made it, on steroids.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, honestly, the way I came up with this idea back in the day is I learned that a landfill replacement is possible and being done, and it's known as a resource recovery park. And so, I was like part of this planning process in Austin, and met the guy that wrote the plan, and he's been kind of mentoring me. And I was like, hey, what if you come to Dallas and we try to get Dallas zero waste, and we trained Dallas. But they had this Echo Park land that was not being used next to the landfill, and it's the perfect spot for a resource recovery park. And so I go through this process of trying to develop an Echo Park, basically, with the city. And where it got, where it stopped was basically we needed an industrial bond. And they hadn't like economic development in the city of Dallas hadn't dusted this book off in like 50 years. It didn't know what the hell to do with it. Like, it was just like, but talking, you need an industrial bond, and here's how we did this other park, So, but Dallas was like, basically there needed to be a funding mechanism for this park, but it didn't exist anymore. And so I was like, oh man, there needs to be some kind of a green bond, or, I don't know, something to make these things happen, because this is the future. It's a landfill replacement, for God's sake. they have this land not being used. Come on. So, but now, you know, they have they're making crypto bond, and I was also like, man, we need a super crypto pack to buy all these politicians, you know, like the lobbyists are doing, you know, and they're making crypto packs, you know, so now we can actually do something sustainable, you know, is how I feel about it, because I've gone in there and tried to do the right shit in the right place at the right, with the right people, but the money is always scarce. So, you know, why should we be dealing with this? It's scarce when we can create abundance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Totally. And see all the good things you can get done with it, you know.
and just get stuff done.
Use. Yeah.
You know, and the SEC, oh, you're profit sharing. Oh, yeah, in a distributed way.
Mm-hmm. And from outside the U.S.
And I am not in the USA right this second. I'm at my house in Guatemala.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, yeah, are there any other jurisdictions that you think we should mention? We're about to hit an hour here, and so I don't want to keep you too much beyond an hour. But I would like to posit that question.
Well, I really only know the U.S. jurisdiction in terms of law. I think I might get into, like, you know, I'm not supposed to talk about other jurisdictions as a whatever, but I think there's a lot of jurisdictions out there that don't have as restrictive. I think it might be one of the most restrictive jurisdictions in the U.S. So almost anywhere is better for this kind of DeFi stuff. And then there's some jurisdictions that have in Europe, especially, that have really favorable tax treatment where they pretty much don't consider crypto, you know, a taxable asset. So, you know, the tax and the DAOs is a really interesting question. I don't know, you know, what jurisdiction is it in, and, you know, what are the tax rules? But I think that the tax question ultimately comes back to where you live or where your passport says you're a resident. So, so no matter what the jurisdiction you're in, even if you find somewhere like in Portugal or something where they don't do the tax, you know, the same way, if you're a U.S. person, you're still going to have to pay U.S. tax on whatever you make.
You know, I think I saw that if you're out of the country more than half the year, that changes. Do you know anything about that?
I need to look into that more too. I started reading something the other day on it, and I think you're actually, what I was reading was, it upset me, so I turned it off, but it was saying that even if you're not in the country all those years, most of the time, you still have to pay the U.S. tax. Like, and same with Canada has something like that, where you have to pay like an 18%. You pay tax to wherever you're living, but then you also have to pay an 18% like extra tax for your home country.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
know there are some ways around that. So I know a friend that's done it with Puerto Rico. Like, if you live there for a certain amount of time, you don't have to pay your U.S. tax. So it's a very complicated thing of, like, each country has a different way that it would work. Like, I know in Puerto Rico, if you go live there for most of the year, I think it's 265 days, then you don't have to do the U.S. tax, but you have to fill out a form at their tax office to subject yourself to their tax rules. And Puerto Rico is kind of unique, where it's like, you know, affiliated or part of the U.S.
Yeah, I know El Salvador just made Bitcoin legal tender, and they either passed it already or about to pass, to where you don't have to pay the taxes on your Bitcoin if you pull it out there.
Yeah, I saw something about that too. It looks interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Well, I hope if anybody with the American government or SEC is listening to this, that y'all really get it straight that America should not be running its innovators out of the country.
Yeah.
Go. This could be our a make it or break it point for the whole economy.
Mm-hmm.
So, why not, sit back and see what happens rather than trying to control everything.
Yeah,
But,
totally agree.
so how can people check out your Hodder cast and follow you? Where's your social network at where people can plug in?
Thanks. I'm actually, I have someone helping me get the website going now. Hodder.law is the domain, and there's not a site up there yet, but hopefully by this time next week there will be. And my Twitter is just at Sasha Hodler. And yeah, that's probably the easiest way to connect is Twitter or Telegram, Sasha.256. So.
Okay, if you give me after we get off, if you give me like a list of links where we can check out your hubby's project and
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you.
your links and all that, I'll just stick it at the end of the description.
Okay, that sounds good.
Sweet. Well, happy 2022. I hope it goes awesome. I look forward to connecting with you more on this stuff. And if you need a vacation, we got a community airship here at the lake.
What's the vaccine rules for coming into Guatemala?
Yeah, they just implemented a vaccine rule. We can talk about that offline.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think Guatemala went with seems to go with my theory is that was an American influencer type situation, because I know Guatemala tried to legalize drugs to deal with these cartels, and I know the Obama administration stopped that. Said they take away funding. So I've seen them meddle.
Yeah, they have a tendency to do that, I suppose.
Yeah,
a slight tendency.
I love America, but I also love freedom. And I was a Marine, and I was raised on the Pledge of Allegiance to red, white, and blue flags, not red, white, blue, and yellow flags.
Yeah.
All right. So have a beautiful rest of your evening, and please send me those links. And it was good to talk to you. And
Will do. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast. Really nice to catch back up with you.
Well, there you have it. Sounds like she's saying outside of American jurisdiction it is better to do these things. So I hope that changes, and we'll pursue advocacy around the DAO topic and try to help, get some advocacy for proper legislation around these things so it goes better. I mean, they're gonna form up best practices, and I'll keep you guys posted. So I'm gonna add a link to where you can send in messages into the description. It's a new feature I'm going to use, so feel free to do that. I know I've been talking about a lot of health stuff because of the pandemic, but this is the first episode where we're actually getting into business, and I'll be posting more both health and business golden age topics Also want to invite you to this new Discord chat room. Put a link at the bottom for the DAO. And if you contact Sasha and mention this podcast, she'll give you a discount on legal services. So I'm sending her the SAVE token docs for an update, and that's the kind of thing that she does. So be sure and give her some work if you have it, and look forward to publishing more around the DAO economy. So I'm thinking, there's a new category. It's like the existing categories are like B2B, business to business, B2C, business to consumer, things like that. Now DAO to DAO businesses are popping up. So, I'm kind of headed my ship in that direction as far as consulting and things. So join the Discord and be a part of building this new economy around impact and sustainability and saving the planet. Thanks for listening, and talk to you soon.